All right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, here he is, the counselor, Greg Diolis, Diolis Law, and he will come to your home even here in Beaver County. How can they get a hold of you?
Easily. Just hit the cell phone, 412-736-9638, or hit me at greg@diuluslaw.com.
And you know, Rochester, Pennsylvania has had some great athletes from here. In particular, you may remember the guy who backed up Joe Willie Namath in Super Bowl III, Babe Pirelli, a graduate of this school. And of course, Ryan Matsuk, who happens to be the son of Dan Matsuk, who happens to be the nephew of Gene Matsuk. They've won all sorts of WPIL championships, and he recently at Beaver Falls won the Whippeal. His father won a ton of them here in Rochester, as did his uncle, and he has been chosen as one of the many honorees, the National Italian Sports Hall of Fame night. That'll be happening April 9th at the Weston. And our good friend from the north side, he is Dan Honorato, now working for Highmark, former Allegheny County Chief Exec. He is going to be the Man of the Year. So Tony Ferraro and the gang, Carmen, and all of them are getting ready for a big night. That's a wonderful evening.
It really is. I've been to that event a few times. When Danny Marino was in, Danny actually joked one time when he was inducted, he said it was for the second time. He says, I thought I was in this thing all along. But I've been to that event with him. A good friend of mine, former director of football operations at Duquesne University, John Rosato, also in the Hall of Fame there. It is a classy banquet. It's a good affair.
Yeah, it is. And again, Carmen Mullen and everyone, thank you so much for giving me that email earlier tonight so I could get the word out. And we'll be doing much more on that as we get closer to that wonderful event. Now, let's talk NFL free agency frenzy. Something just trending within the last hour. Marcus Wheaton is headed to Chicago.
Yeah, kind of disappointing, isn't it, Rob? I mean,
Yes.
We had one of those big, tall, lanky type wide receivers who looked like he would round into shape, and I don't think the Steelers were really thinking that that kind of number would be in the offing for him, and that's a tough loss. Now you really need to get Martavius, the wide receiver who was suspended.
Right.
We need to get him back. Martavius Bryant, yes.
I was just thinking, I have to edit somewhere. I've got more homework from today to get to, but I'm very fortunate to have him here tonight. We were talking to Ralph Sindrich, his former business partner, last night about the NFL Network and everything that's happening, and I've been watching over the last couple of days. Some other things trending for the Pittsburgh Steelers fans out there. David Johnson will be back. Landry Jones will be back. Your thoughts?
We like Landry Jones. We talk about him often. Not a guy who you're going to go into a season with and say, hey, we're going to win 16 games if he's our starting quarterback. But he's a guy who helps prep Ben. He helped get him ready during the week, takes care of all those snaps. He's the guy that eats all the snaps in those practices when Roethlisberger doesn't practice on Wednesdays. So you need a guy like that who's able to kind of suck it up a little bit and be a career backup. And he's kind of rounding into the shape of what Charlie Batch was, what Bruce Gradkowski was. Now it's Landry Jones.
Okay, Tony Romo, the two teams they're talking, Denver and Houston. I kind of like Houston, but I thought, what are they going to do with Brock Osweiler? Well, Coach O'Brien and them found a way to do just what they thought they could do, send him somewhere else along with that big fat paycheck. He's going to Cleveland?
They Francisco Liriano'd him. Exactly what the Pirates did in the summertime, where they dumped the salary in order to basically trade him and get rid of him, gave up a couple of prospects with him. Houston did the same thing. They trade Osweiler to the Browns. The Browns have to eat a $16 million salary, but in exchange, they also got a second-round draft pick. Flip-flopped a couple of picks later on in the draft, but really what they were doing was the Browns were eating that salary, and the Browns needed it because the Browns had $102 million worth of cap space that they needed to eat up. But boy, did they spend some money today.
They did, but I got to tell you, what did I say earlier? We were exchanging text messages, and I'm like, how am I going to get through this day? It's been a very busy couple of days. I can't wait to go back to KDK and actually relax a little bit. But
Go back to work and get some rest. Huh?
Yeah, right. These great writers that I love. Ed Bouchette, of course, Steelers Insider, part of 93.7 The Fan. Ron Cook, Bob Dvorak for many years. But two guys, Adam Scheffler and Ian Rappaport. Ian Rappaport, of course, NFL Network. Adam Scheffler, ESPN. I told you earlier today, I don't know how, even agents like yourself, stay on top of all this, but as you said, you got to take it one deal at a time.
that's what the way that I've learned to do it. As far as if I'm doing the deals, the way those writers do it, and those guys are great guys. There's one more national guy. I don't know if you know him as well, Rob, but La Canfora, Jason La Canfora, who's become a good friend of ours.
Yeah.
Spent some time with him in Indianapolis, and they do it. They schmooze all the agents. They make sure they get with all the right guys, so that when an agent gets a deal done, you almost feel like you're beholden to them. You're giving them the deal first. I had a situation with a client, Donnie Barclay, today. We got a deal done, Seneca Valley, Donnie Barclay, going back to Green Bay. It's $1.3 million over on a 1-year deal, but it's a nice deal for him. And I had met with a writer from Green Bay while in Indianapolis. Felt like I owed it to him, gave him the story first. That's why these guys do it. They spend some time, get together with people in order to get the story, be the first guy to break it. That's what it's all about in the media today, is be the first guy.
All right, we got a lot to get to, but I just want to kind of go through some more of these signings today. NFL free agency began at 4 o'clock. Alshon Jeffrey with the Eagles for a year, multi-year deal. Jameson Winston's got a target now on Deshaun Jackson. Minnesota is signing former Detroit tackle Riley Reif. Also, we have got another signing to talk about in the way of the Texans cornerback A.J. Boya, 5-year deal, $67.5. What else do we have? We've got Kevin Zeitler. We've got Miami Dolphins picking up Rashad Jones. And the Finns, by the way, that's a 5-year, $60 million contract extension with a $35 million guarantee to Rashad Jones. Your thoughts?
A couple of those guys that you mentioned, Rob, I think are interesting to talk about. What happened with Riley Reif going from Detroit to Minnesota. Minnesota loses their guy, Matt Khalil. He goes from Minnesota to Carolina, so they're kind of a flip-flop. So now Carolina has two Khalils. They got Ryan Khalil and Matt Khalil at center and at tackle. Interesting what the Browns did today. The Browns have basically shored up their entire interior offensive line. They give an extension to Joel Boitanio. They signed Treader from Green Bay for $5 million a year, and then they go out and make a big deal for Zeitler from Cincinnati inside the division. You know the Bengals aren't going to be happy about that one.
Speaking of Green Bay, they decided to keep one of their guys around. He is a pass rusher extraordinaire, Nick Perry. They signed him.
Yeah, good interior guy. I like Nick Perry. He does a lot of good things with that defense. And Green Bay's pretty tough. Now, they're kind of going to be in a rebuilding mode because they did lose Treader, who was really just one of the swing guys on their interior of their line, but they're also likely to lose T.J. Lang, their left guard, and that's going to hurt them.
All right, and Jamal Charles, who we saw many times against the Steelers, of course, Andy Reid's an exceptional running back for years with Kansas City. Seattle Seahawks reportedly interested in him. Any more on that?
No, nothing new on that one yet. He's getting a little long in the tooth. He did not have the last 2 years at Kansas City were not real stellar years for him. It would be interesting to see if he gets anything more than a minimum salary there.
Okay, Brandon Marshall, Giants, 2 years, just goes across the hall to the other locker room. You have also got Tony Romo, that whole deal. Terrell Pryor is out there. And now that Wheaton has gone on, I like the idea.
Does he become more intriguing, Rob? He does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't know. I mean, he's that long, lean guy that Roethlisberger likes, those tall receivers. He's still learning the position a little bit. And he's still a risky guy because of some of the attitude issues that he's shown in the past and things of that nature. But rounding into that position, he may have to take a little bit less than he's expecting, but maybe to take a 3-year deal at a nice number to get one more bite at a real big contract could be something that the Steelers are able to entice him, especially maybe a hometown discount.
By the way, speaking of hometown, LeBron James playing very well in his hometown, I might add, or close to his hometown of Akron, Cleveland. Right now they are leading Detroit 29-22. And the reason I mention it, I love LeBron James, but AAA East Central does a whole lot with the Cleveland Cavaliers, as they do the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are coming off that nice win against the Winnipeg Jets. Nick Bonino got a hat trick. Evgeny Malkin actually dropped the gloves, looked okay until he dropped his left hand. But he's okay, and I got himself a couple of goals. Stay safe. Don't fight, okay, Evgeny, don't fight. But I want to talk some college basketball and just run through these scores real quick. North Carolina over Miami earlier today, 78-53. Big 12, ACC, all sorts of stuff from the Garden to the Barclays. They're everywhere, folks, playing basketball. It was Villanova over St. John's, 108-67. Iowa State defeated Oklahoma State 92-83. Duke defeated Louisville 81-77. Two of the best coaches ever, Coach K and Coach Pitino. Oregon over Arizona State 80-57, and TCU defeated Kansas 85-82. Tonight, Virginia Tech, Florida State, Xavier and Butler, Kansas State, Baylor, Colorado, Arizona, Virginia, Notre Dame. And yeah, I'd love to be courtside for this one, USC, UCLA. Before you comment on any of that, do we need to get a defibrillator for your heart watching Duquesne lose that basketball game? A-10 tournament, come on. When I saw that final score, I'm like, this poor coach needs to get a break, Coach Ferry. They lose to St. Louis 72-71.
Well, more than one person in the stands reiterated the fact that it was like Groundhog Day.
Oh.
It's been the season for the Dukes. They get leads, they can't hold on to them, and they lose the game in the end. Several people, including myself, did the math on it. I think the Dukes led for 39 minutes and 58 seconds yesterday. The only time that they were trailed in the game was with 1.7 seconds to go, and that was where they lost the game.
All right, and Pitt didn't fare that well either in the ACC tourney. They were losers, but there's some teams that are playing right now that we should talk about as far as the schedule tonight. But any thoughts about the games that have already taken place today?
Well, yeah, how about Jamie Dixon's TCU kids coming up and knocking off Kansas today, which is pretty interesting. That may have actually gotten TCU into the tournament. And, you know, kudos to Jamie Dixon. He really built that program back up in a hurry. A lot of people thought he could, and he did.
All right, now some of the games tonight, you're interested at all?
Yeah, no, Rob, with all the free agency going on, I hadn't had a chance to do enough research on it. Looked like that Duke Louisville game must have been pretty good, coming down to a 4-point game at the end.
Okay, Rochester is famous for a lot of things. They actually have a Brighton hot dog shop here, and Mr. Papa, the man who founded that wonderful brand and has grown it, he actually is from Rochester, so it's something you might want to remember. They were supposed to have some Vicelli's pizza, but by the time I got here, Manja Manja, it was all gone. But they also have a Valspar plant here, paint plant here, which is world famous. My uncle worked at for years. Love Valspar. It's a great paint. But the Valspar Championship is underway right now on the PGA Tour in Palm Harbor, Florida, and Jim Herman is your leader right now. A couple of guys in the hunt, Russell Henley and Henrik Stenson, so just some PGA news.
Yeah, interesting that, you had all the big guys, the major players involved in Mexico City last week, so probably some of them are taking a week to kind of replenish themselves, not seeing the biggest of the names in that event this weekend.
All right, so last night I sat down for a half hour, try to have a cup of coffee, get a breather. And there's Steve Blass, Bruce Keeson, and the great, well, folks, Bob Smizek. Mazel tov. Love you, sir. Post-Gazette. No documentary about Doc Ellis. I'm crying in my basement. I'm crying. These guys got me crying in my basement. It was well done. I highly recommend Comcast On Demand. Watch this thing. God bless Doc Ellis and the journey he had in his life.
It's a tremendous story.
Oh.
You pitch was it a perfect game or a no-hitter?
No-hitter.
A no-hitter.
He walked a few guys.
Well, if you're on
He hit a
LSD,
few
you
guys.
didn't see half the guys you were pitching to.
He
But
did
it's
so
pretty
much to pay
fantastic.
it forward after all that, and obviously he's died, and it's sad.
It is.
But he was a heck of a pitcher.
Oh yeah, he was one of those guys that was the would have been the ace at that time, and every bit as good as Doc Gooden.
Oh, and I'm just going to leave you with this. It made me even more proud to be from Pittsburgh and be a Pirate fan. Great organization, great story. Please, if you get a chance, watch it. Speaking of the Pirates, Jose Osuna homered today. Phil Gosselin also collected a pair of RBIs. Pittsburgh collected 16 hits. Chad Kuhl allowed 2 earned runs in his third outing. They get a win against Tampa Bay. They take on Tampa Bay tomorrow at Lecom Park. But this Garrett Cole thing against the Dominican Republic, Marte, I guess you said he sprained his ankle in this exhibition matchup with the Dominican Republic, in which the Dominicans won 10-6. But to see him facing Marte and Tyler Glasnow facing Gregory Polanco, that was pretty cool.
I agree it was cool, but Rob, it goes back to the same thing with the World Cup of Hockey in the summertime. Why are we letting our athletes who we're paying millions of dollars to get involved in these bogus made-for-TV events that they're going in? Marte gets hurt. Why do we allow this to happen?
Well, here's what we're going to do.
It's interesting stuff.
We're going to do one more tonight because I want to save the best for last. You know, Rory McIlroy happens to wear the swoosh, so I actually got this hat and put it on for the first time today to pay tribute to him, one of my favorite of all times. But he's in my top 5 Irish golfers ever. 16 world titles, 4 majors. He's 25 years of age. We're going to come back in a moment, go over the other 4 that I still think have a lot of golf left that are very proud to be from Ireland. CIE Tours earlier tonight, Anthony Agustinelli was all about Ireland. St. Patrick's Day is coming up. And we're going to do that, plus talk about some of the places that this guy has traveled to that he's loved. And I'll just say, Hawaii was one of them. That's next. We're AAA Central's office, Adams Street in Rochester. Greg Diolis, Vantage Management Group, part of the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday Show. And what type of produce do you want them to get there? John Clemens, this is for you.
Sumo oranges. They are also referred to, I believe, as ugly fruit. But these things are, they're the goofiest looking fruit you ever want to see. But once you peel them and eat them, you just don't want to turn back. They're awesome.
That type of sumo fruit.
It looks like it.
I get it. All right, folks, we'll be right back.